I'm joined on the panel now by Natalie Winters, the White House correspondent for Steve Bannon's War Room, commentator and YouTube host Brian Tyler Cohen, streamer and political commentator Destiny, and Ben Ferguson, the co-host of The Verdict with Ted Cruz. Well, let me start with you, Ben, given that you work with Senator Cruz a lot. It was great to have him make his uncensored debut, and obviously we focused mainly on the floods. But what he said at the end there was really interesting, I felt, about the Epstein files, because this is raging away. You know, the administration having got everybody very excited. You know, I had one of the administration on uncensored. Alina had. Well, let's remind people what she told me literally like 2-3 months ago.
It is incredibly disturbing. We have flight log.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is every single guest on an uncensored told to never smile or some shit? Like, why the fuck? Like, can somebody tell me why the fuck, like, they always, like, are they have to have a fucking, like, I don't know, like they have to have the most neutral, like, face possible. Like, oh my god, dude. Please.
We have information, names, that will come out.
Make some faces.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden.
You're fine.
And kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway, we don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
Now, Ben, that clip has had millions and millions of views this week, understandably, because there's a massive disconnect between what she told me there and what Pam Bondi was saying and what others were saying, and what's actually materialized in the last 48 hours. You know, Senator Cruz there very firmly that he wants everything put out and he wants criminal action taken against those who broke the law. What's your view?
Couldn't agree more. Look, I think there's transparency the American people deserve, but not just the American people. Most importantly, the victims. They deserve to not have this be covered up in any capacity, or for people to just stop looking. I don't know if there's certain information that has disappeared or wasn't there that they thought was there, but at the end of the day, all that we do have needs to be put out there in a responsible way. You have to protect the victims. That is something that's extremely important. And so it's got to be done in an orderly way. But there are too many people that have talked about this on the record, saying that there's a lot of stuff out there to then all of a sudden say, all right, well, maybe we don't have it. Maybe it's not there. Whatever the story is, give it to everyone the same way and make sure you protect those victims. But they deserve justice. And I don't think this is going to be the end of the story. I think there's far too many people that are asking the questions that you just mentioned, that the senator mentioned, that I'm mentioning. And this should be nonpartisan. This should be non-political. You have children that apparently were sex trafficked and abused in horrific ways. That has nothing to do with politics. It should come out whether the people that were the perpetrators of this were liberal or conservative or agnostic. It doesn't matter. You need to protect the victims, and we need to make sure things like this never, ever, ever, ever happen again.
Right. Brian Tyler Cohen, I mean, I do think it's a non-partisan issue. Obviously, nothing is these days. But I do think that it is completely baffling to me, just as a journalist, that you have this extraordinary scandal that rages away for many years. The main perpetrator dies in prison and is believed to have taken his own life. But the only person that's actually been made criminally accountable and is now languishing in prison is Ghislaine Maxwell, his kind of madame figure, who's a woman. So none of the other men who are widely believed to have been involved in this, none of them have been made accountable. What's your view of this?
Yeah, I mean, my view is that this is a con job by this administration. All of these people.
Brian BTC is like, I can tell he's trying to hit the liberal talking points, but like, it's pretty, from what I've seen of BTC so far. I haven't watched him for quite a time, like a few weeks or so. But in terms of Brian, I don't think he talks about the Epstein shit, dude. I just don't think he's ready for a question like this.
People, Kash Patel, Alina Habba, Dan Bongino, Donald Trump, all of them came forward and said that this was a priority for them because they were stringing their supporters along. And then the moment they get into power, here we are in a situation where the whole thing is just closed and we have no further information on this. And yet, look, I think it would be fools to be surprised. I mean, this is a guy, Jeffrey Epstein, who Trump himself palled around with for years. This is a guy who
yes, and
Epstein
I'm happy
himself
that I
called
am.
his closest
He also
friend
kicked
for
him out of his club.
This is a guy who Jeffrey Epstein said was his closest friend for 10 years. This is a guy who Donald Trump appointed as his Secretary of Labor, Alex Acosta, who handed him a sweetheart deal, a non-prosecution agreement where he was out of prison 6 out of 7 days a week. So, look, Trump can say what he wants on the campaign trail in the lead up when he needs to get everybody's votes and pander to the base. But at the end of the day, he's the guy in charge. And suddenly the about face from everybody in his administration, the buck falls to one person. It's not Alina Habba or Carolyn Levitt or Dan Bongino or Kash Patel. It's Trump himself.
Right. I mean, Natalie, the interesting thing in terms of the timeline here is that when Elon Musk fell out pretty spectacularly and suddenly with Donald Trump, one of the things he posted on his X platform was, bombshell. The biggest bombshell is that Trump's in the Epstein files, right? And that was only a few weeks ago. And since then, there seems to have been a concerted effort for this story to just go away. Now, these two things may be completely unconnected. There may be nothing more to it other than Trump obviously was seen around Epstein. They clearly were very friendly for a while. I think he used his plane several times. I don't think that's in dispute. But there does seem to be a weird timeline here of Elon Musk saying that publicly and everything getting shut down a few weeks later. Am I reading too much into this?
Well, look, I think this is very quickly approaching. I mean, we've already passed debacle territory, but just outright grift. And that's probably not something that you would expect me to say, but this is just absolutely reprehensible. I think if you look at what really the MAGA base, the people who elected President Trump, what their sort of concerns have been these past few months is that the administration is not moving fast enough, right? They're not content with the press releases and the tweets. They want to see prison sentences and actual accountability for people that they believe committed crimes. Now, we've hit the point where we're not even getting the press releases or the strongly worded letters. We're getting weird, undated, unnamed memos being released over holiday weekends to legacy media outlets trying.
I can never tell far-left people from MAGA crowd anymore, okay? She could easily be one of these, lefty conspiracy theorists, or she can easily be one of these, far-right motherfuckers. It's just, we just can't tell anymore, okay? I give up. I give up on even trying at this point.
To bury it in Axios instead of working with all the new media outlets that the White House, pumped and talked so openly and heavily about being in and around the White House. I mean, this is a bedrock issue. I agree it's nonpartisan, it's non-political to want to get justice for the victims, but I also think that this is something that is both hyper-partisan and hyper-political.
Because what ideology is she? Nobody can
whether
tell.
It's a foreign intel operation,
what
a domestic
ideology is she? Serious question.
Has direct ramifications and probably the policies that we've seen being rolled out, whether through blackmail indirectly or directly through a lot of the political leaders in this nation. I would just say, as someone who has been on shows, co-hosted with a lot of the people, the clips that we've played of people who have called out Jeffrey Epstein for years and made millions of dollars off of it, it is absolutely reprehensible and it is a complete grift. And you have now, in their words, probably become the deep state. If you're going to run cover for this and you think that the MAGA audience is dumb enough to not, be able to go back 2 months and see the comments you were making on Fox News, we need to get this right. I don't even know if I have faith in Pam Bondi anymore, but this is a really, really concerning moment for MAGA.
She's MAGA.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny, it is fascinating to see how a lot of the most diehard Trump supporters in the kind of podcast, YouTube, influencer world, they've turned pretty vengefully against him and the administration over this. What do you make of it?
So here's the reality. The reality is, I keep hearing people like Joe Rogan saying the conspiracy theorists ended up being right about everything. They weren't. They were wrong about basically every single thing. There was no massive election fraud. There were no mass deaths from the COVID vaccine. There is no evidence that it was manufactured in a laboratory. There is no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein.
I think, listen, Destiny's voice is already annoying to some people. I think Destiny needs to make his voice even more annoying, okay? I think what Destiny needs to do to piss off these people and to make them rage is by, like, saying it in the most Reddit soy voice possible. I think he needs to do, like, this, there was no deaths, there were no deaths from the COVID vaccines. No, there was no conspiracy to kill Epstein. He needs to do that to piss off this guy on the right, okay, who is like the co-host for Ted Cruz.
Epstein was murdered by somebody. The reality is every single thing I said is true, and I will debate you on any platform over that. So please stop. Please stop.
You're saying wasn't true.
You have
That's where
no
you lose
idea what
credibility.
you have no idea.
Well, hang on,
Sir,
Destiny, hang on, Destiny, hang on.
Please stop.
Stupid.
Hang on, Destiny.
Let me finish my point. Excuse me. Let me finish my point. The problem is that the problem is that you guys spent so much time spreading these conspiracies. When you finally wound up, sir, I don't even know if you know. Do you even believe that viruses and germs are real? I'm not actually sure. Please stop.
I do.
The problem is
I
that
believe
conservatives
that
spent all this time.
Where it came
Conservatives
from, and
spent
if you
all
weren't a
this
weirdo,
time.
You would understand
Conservatives
that too.
spent all. Well, if you want to bring me on your show, I'll talk about it anytime, anywhere. Okay. Conservatives spent all
I
this
don't insult
time.
my audience with stupid
Well,
comments.
hang on.
More people need to be like Destiny on Piers Morgan, okay? Piers Morgan needs to stop having these milquetoast, boring fucking soy liberal guests, okay? Listen, enough of the Brian Tyler Cohens, okay? These people are
just a drink.
so boring. Okay.
Not stirred.
Cheer up, Cranky.
Thank you. I appreciate the $5, okay? I may be cranky, but I am not dinky. I don't know, dude. Thank you.
Let me jump in. Let me just jump in on this
Excuse
point.
me. Can I wait? Hold on. Wait.
Destiny.
Destiny. Let me wait.
Well, you made a series of statements there about.
And I'm almost done with like one sentence.
All right.
Conservatives spent all this time with all these conspiracies, and then as soon as they got into office and they no longer had a deep state to blame, all of a sudden there was no election fraud evidence. There was no evidence about Hunter Biden being conspiratorial, with Ukraine or.
As we can see here, Destiny is using the expert method of he's using the expert method of making a rebuttal to an argument that is about to be launched from this guy, okay? All right, as you can see here, he already anticipates what kind of argument this conservative is about to give. And he already anticipates it by using the power of King Crimson, okay? He sees into the future and he erases the time in between in order to make an argument already. He has prepared for the argument already by making a response beforehand. By doing so, masterful gambit, sir. Masterful gambit, okay, all right, stop. Okay.
Russia. There was no evidence of Epstein being murdered, and that's
I'm
what's
not really
happened.
kidding.
Okay.
They are
He
now
probably
the
is
state.
going
They
to
have every part of the government under
argument.
control, and they have no evidence for any
But
of their
here's the
claims, and
problem.
that's it.
Here's the problem. You've made a series of statements there, alleging that all these things are pure conspiracy theories and there's no evidence for it. And yet it is widely now accepted that actually it is more likely than not that the coronavirus, COVID-19, was started in that lab. That is now widely accepted. That's not a conspiracy theory.
It's not. It is a conspiracy theory.
It began as a conspiracy theory.
There is, I promise you,
Is this
there
what
is
triggered
no
it?
scientific evidence. There is no compelling intelligence
Where do you
community
find
evidence
these
that that is the
people?
case.
So you think,
If you-
Destiny,
if
to
you
be
want-
threw
clear,
away all the
if any-
samples.
if
hang
anybody
on,
wants to
hang
argue
on.
that
You've
this
had
is
your
the
say. Let me have
research
mine.
of it all.
Let me finish my sentence. No, here's the thing, Destiny. You think it's literally a conspiracy theory that COVID-19, which was originally said to have started in a wet market 1 mile from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where it later transpired they were testing new coronaviruses. You think it is more likely it started with a bat in the wet market next door than it started in the lab where they're literally testing new coronaviruses? You think that's a mad conspiracy? Because I would say the mad conspiracy is that it's the bat a mile away.
I'm gonna go with the wet market that was 30 minutes away in a densely populated city where all of the first cases started.
It's
Probably
less than a mile away.
that came from there.
Sponsored by the Chinese Communist Party. I'm just curious.
30 minutes away. Chinese Communist Party. Sir, you are an absolute idiot. I can't believe you would say
they
that.
like? Is it like when you do your shows?
Just to be clear, just to be clear, that it's funny that you say it's funny that you say Communist Party, right? Just to be clear, the residents of Kerr County for the floods that we were just discussing rejected utilizing ARPA funds for years to put up. It's so funny. Ted Cruz talked about an emergency siren system.
I mean, like, he should just then point out, like, oh, do you work for the Russian, like, fucking, do you work for the Kremlin? Yeah.
They didn't want to use money from the Biden administration because of all of these crazy conspiracies that you guys spread about things like COVID, because they thought if they accepted the money,
I know
the
about
transcripts
that,
are public. The transcripts are public, sir. I'm sorry, hold on. Are you telling me they didn't say that? Are you telling me they didn't say that?
We're kicking your ass and you made up something to try to go back and use kids that have died in a tragedy to cover the fact that you cannot defend your Wuhan point of view because
you've fallen into his trap, okay? This is Destiny's strongest point, is being the edgiest motherfucker on the panel. Oh,
it's
no!
Made out of Chinese communist propaganda. I think everyone watching can see that now. And I think you realize you stepped in it and you said something that wasn't true. And everyone that has a brain on this panel is calling you out for it because it was such a stupid thing to say. I'm sorry that happened to you, but you don't use kids dying in a flood.
You know what?
Stupid fucking COVID
reasons.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness.
By the way, I want to bring the others in. I want to bring the others in too. Hang on. Don't all shout at once.
So everybody can see who's running from it, okay?
Don't all shout at once. Let me bring Brian back in here. See, this is the interesting thing, I think, Brian. I read what Joe Rogan put out about conspiracy theories. He was really saying, what he was saying was, don't just dismiss them all out of hand, was his real theme about this. Because a lot of things that are alleged to be conspiracy theories, and the COVID lab one is a classic example where that began as being something that could get people cancelled if they even dared suggest it, and is now, the US CIA believes that a research-related origin in Wuhan in the lab is more likely than the theory it came from animals. So the CIA now believe that. So it's no longer a conspiracy theory. But
I wonder what the soy liberal content creator crowd thinks of Destiny, okay? I'm talking about people like David Pakman, BTC, The Bulwark, like these people who generally give really base takes, but at the same time, they never want to touch the debate bro space because they know they can't, it's just not good optics, I wonder what, like Brian Tyler Cohen, fuck. Like, I wonder how many people from, like, Brian Tyler Cohen's audience hate Destiny, Probably a lot, to be honest. Jeremy Catch Patel, CIA believes a conspiracy. Pierce literally said the CIA has no proof that the virus came from a lab. Sure, yeah. Pac-Man 2 hopped up on boner pills to have an opinion. I mean, no, he has good opinions. It's just that he kind of backstabbed Destiny. Yeah.
Brian, I think it goes to a wider point, is that take the Epstein story, right? I don't know whether he took his life or was murdered or whatever. It seems that most people who've looked at this professionally believe he took his life. But there's this weird video with the missing minute and Pam Bondi's torturous explanation for what that may be about.
If I was a content creator, I would also be
pandering. The undeniable fact that he surrounded himself with a myriad number of famous, rich, powerful people who would have a vested interest in shutting him up. That is indisputable. There are also all these rumors flying around.
Other David just cares about money. Are you just saying this because he's Jewish?
Which, even Alan Dershowitz thought there may be some merit to this when I interviewed him on Monday. That he may have been some kind of Israeli Mossad agent of some sort. You put all this together, and again, it's very easy to say, well, it's all a conspiracy theory. To say that he did anything other than he took his life and nobody else was involved. There's no client list. Nobody else abused these girls. It's over. I don't think that's the conspiracy theory. The conspiracy that's going on right now, it seems to me, is a conspiracy of shutting this down, of silencing debate about it, wanting to move on, and for actually nobody other than Ghislaine Maxwell to be held accountable when it is. I mean, look, take Prince Andrew, right, in my country. Prince Andrew paid Virginia Giuffre a reported $11 million, right? But claimed he never met her, right? But there's a photograph of him with his arm around her when she was 17, 18 in a London townhouse. Now, call me a conspiracy theorist, but you don't give $11 million to someone you've never met, right? I don't care who you are. So again, a lot of the stuff swirling around here doesn't make a lot of sense. And I don't think it's good enough for people just to say it's all conspiracy theory. So shut up and move on. Your thoughts?
I would completely agree, and in fact, we saw yesterday when the White House was posed these questions, Trump freaked out and said, "Whoa, why are we still talking about this? Like, can't we talk about something?" You've got Donald Trump, who has spent every waking minute of the past almost decade talking about the water pressure in his shower and toilet. That guy suddenly doesn't want to engage in a topic that he's spoken about before. We've heard him go on and on about immigrants being rapists and murderers every day. We've heard him go on and on for the better part of a decade about Hillary Clinton's crimes and the Biden crime family. This guy repeats himself like to the ends of the earth. And yet on the issue of Epstein, which by the way was an issue that his campaign predicated so much of their focus on, that they garnered so much support from their audience based on, now he doesn't want to talk about it. So yeah, I mean, I guess the expression that would come to mind is a hit dog will holler.
Well, also, again, I'll repeat, this follows just literally whatever it was,
Brian Tyler
Cohen
is like a grandpa. He's like just full of idioms.
Public spat, suddenly posting, the big bombshell is that Trump's in the Epstein file. So it might be
a move, by the way, that started a conversation about deporting Elon Musk, in case you were wondering whether there was any there. So yeah, I mean, clearly that he hit a mark by or he hit a nerve by saying stuff like that. But I mean, for this administration to try and brush it under the rug, and now
I have to go to the bathroom. My stomach hurts. I feel like shit, and I'm about to shit. Okay? All right? Yes, I am breaking the flow of the stream to do this. Okay?